Out of the unimaginable blackness beyond the gangrenous glare of that cold flame, out of the Tartarian leagues through which that oily river rolled uncanny, unheard, and unsuspected, there flopped rhythmically a horde of tame, trained, hybrid, winged things that no sound eye could ever wholly grasp, or sound brain ever wholly remember. They were not altogether crows, nor moles, nor buzzards, nor ants, nor vampire bats, nor decomposed human beings, but something I cannot and must not recall. So you want to be a sorcerer?
Hey everybody, it's Luke from Nerdcraft HQ, where I build some cool stuff and paint minis as well, but that's not why we're here to talk today. We are here to talk today about playing a sorcerer in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. I have a couple disclaimers. One, I run some homebrew rules that might not work for your campaign, so just ignore those if you don't want to take them or use them. And two, these are just my opinions, so again, take them or leave them, that's up to you. But yeah, let's get started. Let us demystify the sorcerer. It's not as scary as it seems, and with a little bit of help from your DM, you can play an awesome sorcerer with an easy yet complex story arc. More than any other class in the book, the sorcerer has an infinite amount of options for an origin story. I'm not kidding, literally you can choose anything. A sorcerer has raw magic as well as unexplained powers. This allows you to choose a source for those powers that is different from the selection of a normal spellcaster. The magic literally courses through your body like the blood in your veins. That means that there's no praying and no book reading necessary for this. It literally is a part of you. And just to give you some examples of how this could have come about, I have a little list, and I will read those now. So, a butterfly lands on you. You stay in the sun too long. You stay in the dark too long. You unknowingly walk past a ritual. Your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother was a full-blooded dragon. Your father was meddling in things he should not have. You ran into a wormhole. A wormhole sought you out. Anything related to a mind flayer. Truly, anything related to a mind flayer could probably cause you to be a sorcerer or something like that. Yeah, and if those aren't enough to get the wheels cranking, I would suggest perhaps think of a moment in your life where something happened and it changed your life, maybe dramatically, but at the time it didn't seem like it was going to. I think that that is a great source. Like, what happened to you? Could that have happened to your character? And how might that have affected your character? Make some parallels. That's a nice way to build a character. Think about that, and I will start talking about quick builds. In terms of a quick build, you're going to want to make charisma your highest because that is what your spellcasting is based off of. And as a sorcerer, you're going to probably be relying pretty heavily on your spellcasting. The player's handbook suggests constitution as your second highest, which I suppose could make a lot of sense. But again, running theme here, if it doesn't make sense for your character or you just want to choose a different one for your first or second, that's totally fine too. It's entirely up to you. And same with the background. I know I haven't kind of touched on the background for a couple of episodes, but the book has a suggestion that can make a lot of sense, but it might not for your character. Again, I'm just kind of repeating myself over and over. Choose whatever makes sense for you. If you read the background and it sounds cool, go for it. If it doesn't, pick another one. It's not a big deal. Spellcasting is really important to the sorcerer, and as a sorcerer, at first level, you know 4 cantrips, which I'm imagining you're going to be relying on pretty heavily. So make sure you read the full spell and choose wisely. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. Don't just read the spell name and assume because it has a cool name that it's going to be a spell worth having. Yeah, but what about... Nope. Other than that, simply refer to the table in the book or online to know how many spells you have and how many you can cast per day, as well as your spell save DC and spell attack modifier. I know you probably couldn't see that, but I'm assuming you either have a book or access to the internet. So, or a library if it's open, or a friend. Okay, if you don't have access to any of those, but you're watching this, then I'm confused. But that's okay. Just leave me a comment, and we will get that taken care of some way or another. Okay. Next section. In terms of a particular sorceress origin, which is like the subclass or archetype of the sorcerer, the player's handbook lists wild magic as well as draconic bloodline as the two that it has in the book. Redundancy. We love it. You can find in other texts and online, let's see, what are they? Storm sorcery, and I'm just going to look at my paper. What are they, paper? Please help me. I am lost. Divine Soul and Shadow Magic. Storm sorcery, Divine Soul, and Shadow Magic. If I want to be honest with you, well, first of all, I'm not going to tell you how to play, but if I'm going to be honest with you, there's really no point messing around with any of the other ones except for Wild Magic. Wild Magic is the coolest one. I know that that's an opinion, and I know that's probably a wrong opinion. The other ones are pretty cool, and especially with some of the information I have later, you kind of have to dip into the other ones to utilize some of my suggestions. But again, just my opinion, I like Wild Magic. So real quick, with Draconic Bloodline, you get to choose the lineage from which you came. So like a red dragon or a copper dragon, etc. And this affords you abilities down the road, be it resistances, elemental affinities, and even wings at one point. I think 18th level. But to me, Wild Magic is the winner of those for two reasons. One, it leans towards the chaotic, and if played with well intentions and respectfully, can be a really awesome situation. And number two, the different possibilities and options for how you got that magic are endless. So much lore! Lore! Hey, did I mention Wild Magic surges? Oh no? Actually, I need this open. But, basically, wild things can happen at any point in time, especially when you're casting a spell. And the player's handbook has a list of about 50 options, but online and in different places you can find seriously hundreds of more options for Wild Magic surges. But the list does have one in particular that I think is pretty hilarious, and that is, if you roll a 53 to a 54, so a 53 or 54, you are immune to being intoxicated by alcohol for the next 5d6 days. That could be really hilarious in terms of roleplay. There's a section of the chapter called Font of Magic, which talks about sorcery points, and what those are is a set amount of points that you have that increase with your level that you can use to sacrifice to free up a spell slot. But you can also sacrifice a spell slot to create a sorcery point, and metamagic is going to explain the reason behind that. With metamagic, you alter your spells by sacrificing or spending a sorcery point for a specific and desired effect. An example of one of those effects is Extend Spell. When you cast a spell that has a duration of 1 minute or longer, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double its duration to a maximum of 24 hours. Now, some people find this specific metamagic ability, the Extend Spell at least, to be the least useful of all of the metamagic abilities. But with some clever combinations and, depending on the spell, some multi-classing, I present to you 5 spells that would benefit from being extended. I have Mage Armor, which is a first level spell, and you could extend it to 16 hours. I have Armor of Agathys, which is a first level spell that you could extend to 2 hours. I have Aid, which is a second level spell that you could also extend to 16 hours. There's Dark Vision, which is a second level spell, and you can extend that to 16 hours as well. And finally, one of my favorite spells, Death Ward, at 4th level, which you could extend to 16 hours. I feel like that is a pretty useful one already, and having that be 16 hours is, you could do some like really good planning ahead. Again, this requires some workarounds as well as multi-classing, but it might be worth it if that's the kind of sorcerer you'd like to play. And if you're unfamiliar with any of those spells, I would suggest that you read them and take a look at them for yourself. I'll be the first to admit, sorcerers do feel kind of tricky and confusing to play, and I've seen people opt out to play a different type of caster. But at the end of the day, they really do make up for all of that stuff with the amount of sheer power that they have. Even if roleplay and having a good backstory isn't really your main concern with D&D, sorcerers can still hit really hard in combat. In fact, that's one of their strongest suits. And along with some of their other cool features, it might really be worth your time to at least try playing a sorcerer. Who knows? You might land on your favorite class. And as always, I'd like to give a special thanks to my Craft House VIP patrons, Jess, Seth, and Josh, and of course all my other patrons. If you're considering joining, go ahead and check out my page. I post exclusive content there multiple times a week. If you enjoyed this video, giving it a like and sharing it would be awesome. If you'd like to see more, subscribe and click the notification bell. That really helps me get these videos in front of other people as well. Other than that, I hope you have a really good day. Oh, I guess all my links are in the description as well. But yes, have a really good day and peace out. Things get lost. Shibbity babbity, babbity babbity boo. That's my impression of the fairy godmother in Cinderella. Is she fairy godmother? Is that right? Huh. Maybe